Welcome back to another edition of This Week in 3 Minutes. I've called this one the Nude Bomb. There was a television program back in the 80s. It was a spoof on the saint, the subject of spies and such. And there was a movie that was a spin-off of this television show called the Nude Bomb. And of course, it was the spies had to stop this bomb from being dropped. That when it went off, it would vaporize everyone's clothing, leaving, of course, everyone stark naked. What I relate that to is what I'm seeing going on in politics these days. It seems like some sort of nude bomb has gone off, and a lot of people are waking up to this show, this circus that is politics. And why does that matter to gold? What does that got to do with the capital markets? Well, what it means is uncertainty. One of the greatest risks for global investors is the political risk associated with the companies they're owning and the debt they're buying, the bonds and such, in the countries that they're buying them from. Some countries that had been perceived as very safe aren't seen that way anymore. And of course I'm talking about south of the border here from Canada, which is the US. The politics down there, it seems to have become the modern day bread and circuses. And of course that lends uncertainty to those outside of the US, and as well to those inside the U.S. wondering what's going on, what's going to happen next. Just this week, the continuation of the subject matter of U.S. hegemony, or the de-dollarization of the world, pretty much was not a part of the mainstream discussion. But that changed this week. In Bloomberg, they did an article, put out an article from what's his name, Marko Kolanovic, who is a macro market whiz at J.P. Morgan. And he was quoted as saying that dollar hegemony is now at risk. This is a subject matter that's going to become more and more prevalent. We're going to start reading more and more about this. The rest of the world has already started moving in that direction, but to have a noted American news source, mainstream news source, start to talk about this is, well, it's a reflection of what's going on. And we can see that in capital flows. RIT Capital, which is the Rothschild Investment Trust, one of the biggest, most influential money pots, I guess, if you will. In 2017, they announced that they divested or sold off 80% of their U.S. stock and moved to Asia. And now I just looked at their semi-annual report, and I was shocked to find out that they've blown out their bond position. They have only 2% of the portfolio in bonds, in sovereign debt, which tells me they not only do they not trust the political environment in the U.S., they don't trust the political environment anywhere in the world. I mean, these are the smartest money managers in the world that put their funds onto the RIT Trust, Rothschild Investment Trust platform. So if the smartest people in the world are moving away from the uncertainty in the United States and the uncertainty of global governments being able to repay their bonds and moving into real assets, that should really reassure you that you have made the right decision in buying gold and silver, because you're buying a real asset. It's not an obligation from an insolvent government. It's not an obligation from a company that doesn't know what's going to happen due to politics, due to the political environment and such. It's just an asset that sits there and holds its value and is indifferent, basically, to the rest of the world. So with that, you can know you're holding on to probably the best kind of insurance you can, and from an investment savings point, and sleep well. On that note, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.